Join your wrestling mate, Southern Joe, to watch this episode of If You See Kayfabe.
G'day, wrestling mates. Thank you for taking the time to see this special episode of If You See Kayfabe. I'm your wrestling mate from down under Southern Joe, and with me is another fantastic guest. He's someone who has been on the independent scene for a long time and been part of the territorial scene. Please welcome the owner of the Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling, Mr. Herb Simmons. How you doing, Herb?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for having me on and talking about some old school wrestling. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now, before we start, we must pay tribute to one of the founding members of the Midnight Express, Dennis Condrey, who passed away this weekend at the age of 74. Did you ever have any dealings with Dennis, or did he pass through your territory?
Oh yeah, Dennis and I were good friends. In fact, when I got the news yesterday morning early, it just put a whole damper on my day. I reached out to his wife Teresa and gave my condolences. And in fact, Dennis and I had been talking just this last week about getting him and Jim Cornette into the fan fest that we're planning, and he'd been working on that for the last couple of months. Mr. Cornette don't like to leave the house too much since COVID, but we thought it would be a great addition to have Dennis and Cornette at the Fan Fest. But I mean, it was just a shock. I mean, I didn't even know he was feeling bad. I know over the years he's had health issues with the throat cancer, but he battled that, and we had him in at the Fan Fest 2 years ago, and just had a great time with him. He was one of the greatest in the business.
Mhm. Is there a hope that you still might get Mr. Cornette to come down in his honor?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, him and Dennis were close, and I talked to Jimmy all the time. But COVID turned our world upside down, and there's still a lot of people that don't want to get out, and they don't want to. He doesn't fly. He wants to drive everywhere. So,
Yeah.
and he's about 5-6 hours away from where we are at. But I'm not giving up on him. But I sure would love to add him and Dennis together because, beautiful Bobby Eaton, the other half of that, passed away. And so, anybody you talk to in this business would tell you that they were probably one of the greatest tag teams, if not the greatest tag teams back in that time.
Yeah, and also because I think Stan Lane doesn't really have that much to do with the business anymore.
Yeah, Stan was another one of the fractions of it, but everybody, I tell you, the beautiful Bobby Eaton and Loverboy Dennis Condrey and Jim Cornette was that they were the game in town.
Hmm. And so, how did you start the Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling? What made you start that promotion?
Well, I got into it like probably you got into doing your program as a fan, and
Mhm.
I grew up. My mother and I, at a young age, enjoyed wrestling. My siblings didn't, but her and I was kind of the glue that bonded us together. Watching the local program out of St. Louis called Wrestling at the Chase, and it started on television in 1959 and ran until 1983 when the gentleman who started it, a gentleman by the name of Sam Muchnick, who was the NWA president off and on for 41 years, who I had the extreme pleasure and opportunity to um, talk with all the time and go to the office with my his protege, a young man named Larry Matasek, who turned out to be the ring announcer and play-by-play for Wrestling at the Chase. But Wrestling at the Chase, those four words was synonymous in any house. Um, to this day, when you mention the words "wrestling at the Chase," it brings back memories and triggers a lot of memories for everybody because you got to remember back then there wasn't a lot of programs on television. And it just happened to be one of the top programs on, and people loved it.
And In those days, because I've heard through various podcasts that the wrestling at the Chase and various shows like that were easy, cheap programming and got eyeballs on the TV sets.
Well, that was the marriage that was made in the air, actually, on an airplane. Mr. Muchnick had the talent with the wrestlers. His friend owned the TV studio and the hotel called the Chase Park Plaza. So they actually made a deal on an airplane trip, agreed to put the programming together. And I always tell people, wouldn't it be something now if you can make a deal and not have to have a 200-page contract and dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Here's these two men that had a vision and knew it worked, and boy, they shook a hand on an airplane, and the rest is history with it. And it went from, like I said, 1959 to 1983 until Vince McMahon actually came in and took over the television rights.
Oh, right, okay. And were you yourself ever a member or a promoter of the NWA?
No, I never was in the NWA. I always been on the independent side. Um, Even after the NWA as we knew it faltered and closed down, other people had tried to start it back up. They tried to get me to become a member, but I always liked the independency of my own. I didn't want to have to be responsible to a group of individuals and have them try to explain to me what I was doing wrong and maybe what they were doing right. But I've been doing it for 53 years this past February. And Sam Muchnick always told me, he said, if you treat the boys right, they'll treat you right. And I believe that was true because for 53 years I've been able to treat the boys right and give them work. And we bring in a lot of the legends on our shows, and these fan fests that we've been doing the last 4 years, I think proves that. I mean, we'll have probably 60 legends again this year at the fan fest.
Yeah, I want to go through a few of those names with you in a moment. Um, so did you yourself ever wrestle, or you just
No,
came in as a
I
fan?
was a smart one. I never, when I first had my first encounter with Sam Muchnick, my friend Larry Matisek took me to meet him for dinner one evening at the local horse race track. They had a restaurant there that he loved to partake at, and I told him then I didn't want to be a worker. My hats off to the men and women that go out there and bust their behinds to entertain,
Mm,
but Payne and I don't get along too well. And,
uh,
the old saying, what goes up must come down. Gravity wins all the time. And,
yeah.
but I told him I wanted to learn the behind the curtains. I wanted to be the Wizard of the Oz, knowing how it's all put together, the matchmaking. And so that's what I've done. I've been injured one time, just a few years back. I got shoved into the ring apron uh, when we were doing a TV show, and the bad guys come in, and I was doing the interview, and they cracked a rib of mine. But that even told me more so why I'd never want to be a wrestler.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Um, yes, because they say that territory wrestling died, when Vince McMahon um, expanded, like, in the '80s, because, as I said, in Australia, the only American wrestling we ever got was WWF. We didn't even get Crockett Wrestling or anything like that. So what do you attribute your success to in being able to have a thriving independent, um, company all
Well,
these years?
I think the demise of the territories, if that's what you're asking, was something that was created by Vince McMahon, Jr. Because Vince McMahon Sr. was part of the NWA, and him and Sam Muchnick were friends. One time there was about 32, 33 territories that were
Mm,
part of that NWA. Um, and back in the day, there was actually even a federal lawsuit filed against them, trying to claim that they were monopolizing. And in fact, I have the records of that court case that went by the wayside, basically, but it took a while to get it done. Sam Muchnick and But when Vince came in and said he was going to um, control everything or turn it all into a carnival, he pretty well did that, you know. And I think that's when these territories said, "Hey, we can't fight him." I just had a conversation the day before yesterday. Um, if Sam Muchnick would have been 20 years younger, when that would have took place, I think we would have seen a war of Vince McMahon and Sam Muchnick because Sam had he had the financing, he had the connections, and I think that if anybody could have stood toe to toe with him, it would have been Sam Muchnick, and it may have turned out a lot different. But unfortunately, age caught up with him, and he passed the torch on, and the NWA as we knew it, as I knew it, fell apart. I mean, there's an NWA out there now. Billy Corrigan owns the three letters of NWA, and he's trying to build it back up. But and I tell people all the time, the NWA, the way we knew it, will never be there because the people who made it are dying off or they've died already. The people like Jack Briscoe and Johnny Valentine and Dick the Bruiser
Mm.
and Killer Kowalski, and the list goes on and on. There are no more of them. They threw those molds away when those individuals passed on. But the NWA to this day is they're trying. You know, they're doing some territorial work. Um, but we're drawing just as well with our little independent promotion as some of their shows do. So I mean, wrestling now is we always said it was like a roller coaster, and right now it's professional wrestling's at a high point again. It's not the first time. Some people say, "Oh, it's never been like this before." Well, I beg to differ with them. Yes, it
Well,
has
yeah,
been.
exactly.
Sam always said it.
Exactly.
And the problem with is a roller coaster, we all know as you go up, sooner or later, it's going to come back down. So
Yeah.
that's why everybody needs to enjoy it while it is now. And nobody knows when that's going to be. They don't have a crystal ball. But if you turn out a good product, uh, your fan base should follow that ride.
What's your average size fan base of like a yeah, average size house at the moment?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What's your average size house attendance at the moment?
Oh, it varies. Like I said, anywhere from a couple of hundred fans to, last year we were at the Worldwide Technology Raceway NASCAR races. We had 80,000 people
Oh,
racing and
wow.
wrestling. And we'll be back there 3 or 4 times this year already. They booked us back. But, most of the houses is between that 3 to 500.
Mhm,
Um, we do a private show over in St. Louis, Missouri, at the Missouri Athletic Club, and they'll have 300, 400 people there every show for us. Um, but and, it's yeah, it's a we draw a consistent crowd. We have a great following because we're probably the last of the old school wrestling with our
mhm,
storylines. I've got a booker that runs my locker room, does my matchmaking, and writes the TV for us. We have a television program that's on YouTube every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central Time,
mhm.
and they're able to watch how these feuds and arguments develop over a 4 week period before our next house show, just kind of like what they did back in the day with TV studio tapings.
Mm. Yeah, I noticed that you emphasised that you're bringing back the studio, TV taping feel.
Yeah, our TV studios are just like they used to do. We have ringside interviews or at the podium, and where the talent is telling their stories, and the feud starts, and um, everybody says, "Oh, wrestling's this, wrestling's that," and oh, it's fake. Well, I know a lot of wrestlers that's been injured in wrestling, and if it's
Oh,
fake,
for sure.
why are they getting injured? And so my response to those people who make those statements is um, if just because the toothpaste is out of the tube, don't mean we keep squeezing it. There are
Mhm,
people that come to our shows. Every every show, and they want to be entertained and they want to believe. And I tell them for 2.5 hours roughly, I'm going to put you in a world of disbelief. I'm going to make you forget about everything. Now you got to come back to reality after it's over with. But for those couple of hours, you're going to cheer for the good guys and boo the bad guys and just forget about everything. And I said it's good therapy for them.
Yeah, because I've come to the realization that when you go to a movie and you might boo a bad guy and cheer on a good guy, well, that movie, I mean, you know, Adam Sandler is not really Happy Gilmore or the Waterboy. You know,
No.
Sylvester Stallone's not really Rocky Balboa. And I come from a background that when I was younger, yeah, I believed like the first time my world was cracked as far as to work, I believed that everything was a work up until the championship. I thought the championships were still a shoot.
Well, and the thing is think about it this way: if you go and watch that movie, you can't boo and you can't yell and you can't cheer because they'll throw you out of the theater. You come to an
Mm.
SICW event, we want you to yell and boo and have a good time because that's what makes the matches. And so um, I've been a diehard wrestling fan ever since I was about 5, 6 years old. I'm
Yeah, same
73 years
here.
old this year, and I'm still a diehard wrestling fan. And I've met
Yeah.
so many great people in this business and worked with them. There's not too many names out there that anybody can name that I haven't crossed path with one way or the other in this business, and and I've been honored to do that.
Mm. Well, I go to a local show here in Melbourne called Alpha Pro Wrestling, and there are a couple of guys. They see my mullet, they hang a bit of crap on me, and I give a bit of crap back to them. Then after the show's done, yeah, they come out to say good day to the audience, and they just they some of them. One of them, he has a gambler sort of persona, and he said to me, "Oh, I hope you didn't think it was too hard." I said, "No, no, mate, you're a heel. You're supposed
Y-
to give me crap. You did a
Yeah,
good job because people booed you. If you didn't get booed and people don't care about you, they're not going to come back." So
yeah.
I've come to accept the work nature, um, because yeah, I've seen close up how actually my wife went to her first ever wrestling show, and you only because, oh, long story short, um, my son couldn't make it to this special event where Rob Van Dam was in Melbourne, and every time someone got slammed, my wife went oh like that, even though she knew it was at work. She just
Oh
said,
yeah.
"Oh, how can they do that? How can they take that?" And it's the amount of training. Do you also train wrestlers?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do you have like a training academy as well?
You're breaking up again, Joe.
Oh, sorry, man. Are you training wrestlers as well?
I heard the word rustling.
Do you train wrestlers? Try again. Um, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Do you
Say that again.
train wrestlers?
Yes, we have a wrestling school. It's kind of on a sabbatical right now because of the building. But you may heard the name Cowboy Bob Orton Jr.
Yeah.
He's our head guy. It's called the
Wow.
Ace Wrestling Academy, and
Yeah.
and then I have some of my local boys that's been with us for 20 plus years that help him because he's like me getting up in age, but he has to sign off on them, and he's had the hand in. There's one gentleman out there now that has done some work with the NWA with OVW. His name is Strictly Business Brandon Beretta.
Mhm.
Another one, the Italian Grit, Joey Vanetti is one of his graduates. And then
Mhm.
there's a young lady, she's 6'7", uh, just tough as can be, goes by the name of Lilith Khan. And she's actually a title holder at another organization. Those three are out there, and they're graduates of the Ace Wrestling Academy. And
Hmm.
So we actually inducted Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame last year at our Fan Fest, and his son Randy Orton came in and inducted him. I
Yeah.
helped give Randy his first match before he went down and got fully better trained at OVW.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mr. Orton, he was such a prodigious technical wrestler and had good psychology as well. So he would be an excellent I could see where he'd be an excellent trainer because
Yeah,
he just
well, and
was
the guy was
very
in.
silky
I think
smooth.
he was in 3 or 4 different WrestleManias. He was in there with wrestling. I know he was on 1, 3, and 5. I thought it was something like that. But and he still gets in the ring. And here about a year ago, him and Mr. USA Tony Atlas was my tag team champions.
Oh wow. And Tony Atlas still gets in the ring as well?
Oh yeah, he was just in the ring last weekend up in Chillicothe, Ohio, for us with uh, Bobby Fulton. I'm sure you've heard that name. He was one half
Yeah.
of the Fantastics with Tommy
Fantastic.
Rogers.
Yeah.
He puts on a fan fest up there, and he invited me up there to help do some commentating on his TV. And but Tony Atlas was there and got involved in the match, and so yeah, Tony still gets out there and does it.
How many shows a week or a month do you put on?
Well, like the month of April, I've got 3 shows booked. And everything's leading up to the big fan fest. But normally we do a TV taping on a Sunday. We'll tape 4 1-hour shows, and then we do 1 or 2 shows. A lot of our work is for nonprofit organizations. We help them raise funds, whether it
Okay.
be for the local fire department or the local police department, or if somebody has got some health issues. We've done all kinds. We've done them for Boy Scouts, different organizations, Chamber of Commerce. So that's about 95% of what we do is for nonprofit organizations.
So like fundraisers.
Fundraisers, yes, that's exactly what
Yeah.
we do. And
Oh, that
again, throwing everything back on COVID, a lot of those organizations couldn't do anything for a couple years, so they lost
mm,
funds. So we really saw a surge when we were allowed to start getting back together and helping them try to get caught up on their funds. I mean, we had a fire chief from a local fire department. He's passed away now, but a couple years ago, we raised him $40,000 at one show to help
wow.
with his medical expenses, and so it's things like that, and it's repeat business. Every year we go back to these organizations, they call us, and and they'll raise one fire department over 8 years period raised $40,000. So
That's
in
good.
funds that they get to use to buy equipment and do what they have to do. So we kind of pride ourselves in being really community oriented.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because well, we know all about COVID down here. Melbourne was the most locked down city during COVID in the whole world. We
Right.
we endured we endured 6 lockdowns. Now also, I noticed that, like, for the Fan Fest, the prices were very affordable, so you make your ticket prices pretty affordable?
Yeah, we again, you have to know your demographics. You have to know what your economy is, and we want it to be enjoyable, and it can't be enjoyable unless it's affordable.
Mm,
Um, and I know there are some places. I know it looks like the WWE now is charging
uh,
tons and tons of money. I hear
yeah.
people all the time complaining about they have to go take a second mortgage out to take a
Oh,
family of
absolutely.
4 or 5. So we don't do that, and we're not trying to compete against anybody else, even the local promotions. We do our own thing. I know what my audience can afford, and I use the Fan Fest for example. It's a actually a day and a half event that Friday night on May the 8th. Excuse me. Um, Mick Foley, that's probably a name you're aware of.
Yes,
Will
very
be
much.
there. Mick Foley will be doing his one man show. It's a Q&A. It's a comedy thing. He tells stories. It's really a great time. The vendors will be set up. Some of the people, the talent that comes in early will be there. But then that Saturday, uh, 10 o'clock in the morning, the doors will open and the Fan Fest will run until about 5 p.m. And then
Mhm.
there shortly after, we'll have the Hall of Fame induction, the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. This year, we're inducting Andre the Giant. Uh, his
Mm.
daughter is scheduled to be there to accept those honors. And then Johnny Rodz, another legend in the business, he just turned 86 years old. He does a lot of training of the future wrestlers, is being
Yeah.
inducted. And then the son in law of the late Dick the Bruiser, Spike Huber, is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then after that's over with, then we do the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal Memorial that I've done
Mhm.
for many, many years now. Brody was a real close friend of mine. In fact, back in 1988 when he got murdered, he was with us the weekend before. Uh,
Oh, wow.
and since then, his wife, Barbara Goodish, we talk weekly. She comes in every year to the Fan Fest. Her and I
Yep.
go out to Las Vegas every year to the Cauliflower Alley reunion, up
Mhm.
to Luthez, Tragus Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. She's really
Mhm.
involved in the business. And
Oh, for
I
sure.
promised her
Yeah.
many years ago that as long as I'm breathing and on this earth, uh, Bruiser Brody will always be remembered.
Yeah. Well,
But
actually,
they met in Australia.
yeah, I know. Well, she's Australian. I when I saw her on the Dark Side of the Ring episode, I thought she's South Australian. Did I research and found out that indeed she is Australian. And I actually interviewed her about a year or so ago.
Yeah, she's a fellow Kiwi.
Yeah.
Yeah, her and Bush, Luke Williams, the bushwhacker,
Look.
and
Yeah.
Tony Garea, and all
Andy
them.
Grea. Yeah.
When I have them all together, I just love sitting back listening to the stories of, and of course I know, like I said, Barbara and Frank Goody, Bruiser Brody. That's where they met at, was in Australia, and he brought her over here to the states.
Yeah. And she's lived there ever since over there. And yeah, she's a really nice lady. Um, Another person you gotta have at your fan fest that I've interviewed, Justin Race, Harley's
I'm sorry.
boy.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I
that
I'm
name.
all Justin Race,
Justin Race.
Harley's son.
Oh gosh, yes. What a great person. And a lot of these wrestlers back in the day when they were on the road, their families got left at home. They were
Mm,
making road trips. They weren't getting on airplanes and flying all over the place back in the day. They were driving 2, 3, 400 miles from town to town. But Justin was one of the fortunate ones that got to do a lot of traveling with his dad. And you talk about a guy that's got stories. I mean, I just talked to him last night, and I mean, he's got stories about sitting in the locker room and when it's dad, and his dad was probably recognized as one of the true toughest individuals in the business.
absolutely,
I haven't met one person yet that will tell you that Harley Race couldn't back up what he said he was going to do.
absolutely. And the the match he wrestled here in Australia, when he put over our Australian champion Rod Miller, one of the best matches I've ever seen. It was a non-title match, but because I came in late, I thought I thought an Australian had become world champion because I knew Harley was the NWA champion at that time. Um,
Yeah.
but it
Well,
was
yeah,
great. And
some of the greatest matches out there. Harley has to be there. If Harley isn't on somebody's Mount Rushmore, they don't know anything about wrestling.
absolutely. And so yeah, you got Johnny Rods. Had a look at some of the. You got Paul Ellering there as well.
Precious Paul, yeah, I was just with him up
Yeah,
in Cincinnati. Chillicothe, Ohio, last week. He was up there with the Power Pains. He was managing them in a match. So, what a great guy,
that's
Paul Ellering. I mean, I'm looking
that's
forward.
ironic.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, it's, well,
That's ironic.
it's 2026. It was a tribute to the Road Warriors, and, the
Yeah,
Road Warriors had some, fantastic, matches against the Pirate Pains, the Barbarian and the Warlord, So, but,
yeah, and
I'm looking
you got
forward to getting them in here, and of course, then I'm gonna have Haku there also, Ming,
oh, I'd love to meet him. He looks like he'd be a fun bloke to have a beer with.
another tough guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always said if I was gonna be in a six-man tag, I want Haku and Harley Race on my side.
Yeah, you could go wrong too much wrong there. And you got Doink the Clown. Now that interests me. I don't know if I'm getting myself into trouble with you. Ask if I cheekily asked which version of Doink is it?
Yeah, you're breaking up there again, but I heard you say Doink the Clown, and I was just
Yeah,
with him, in Chillicothe, and, of course, everybody says, "Well, which doink are you having there?"
that's what I
And,
asked.
as far as I'm concerned, Steve Lombardi, you get 2 for the price of 1 with him and the Brooklyn Brawler. So, Steve's a great guy, and and I say the kids, but us big kids, enjoy Doink the Clown. I mean, up there in
Mm.
Ohio last weekend, I mean, he's signing autographs and taking pictures and dressed up in a full, outfit, and, everybody just loved it.
So is Steve pulling double duty as Doink and Brooklyn Brawler, is he?
You're real low
Sorry.
again.
Sorry, try again. Here we go. You got me now? I don't know what it is. Okay. You got me now?
Yeah, right there.
Okay. So is Steve Lombardi pulling double duty as Brooklyn Brawler and Doink?
Yeah, yeah, he'll be there in double duty. Like I said, you get 2 for the price of 1. It's a bargain deal.
Now also Baron there. Is that Baron von Raschke?
Oh, yeah, Baron von Raschke. Yeah, the Baron. Baron, is, my only problem is people continuously, mistake him for George Clooney, and I don't know why. That's what he tells everybody. He says, he'll walk around with a signs on him says, "I'm George Clooney." But the Baron is one of the nicest, guys in the business. Um, he, he's making a few of these appearances still, but he's always anytime we've needed him, he's always came in, and, just a great, great guy, great family, his wife, his daughter, um, and, when he had, his first match in St. Louis was against Pat O'Connor.
Oh
I'm sure
wow.
that's a name, and, that's the, first match that
Goes
he
back.
ever used the brain claw in, and, a quick story on him, his first match at St. Louis at the Kiel Auditorium. It said, the
Wow.
sellout was 12,800 people, and Sam, used to sell it out on a regular basis, and Baron tells the story because he's got a vision impairment, and, he got lost inside that big arena, and where they brought the wrestlers out on the stage, he got turned around and actually went all the way around the corridors to the other side, the opposite side of where he's supposed to come out at. And Pat O'Connor went out and got in the ring first, and he's standing out there waiting, and there's no Baron. And what happened? Where's he at? And I was there that night, and I'm sitting up on by the stage by the curtain, and across their arena, you could hear the crowd, kind of like at a ball game. You know how they do the wave? They're all chanting and all this,
Yeah.
and all you saw was this red cape come flashing through the audience. He actually got lost, and he climbed up in the
Oh.
ring, and O'Connor said, "Where in the hell have you been?" And he said, "I got lost." So, yeah, 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 I don't know what you did, but you're coming in real good now.
Oh, good.
You're
Oh, yeah. With the claw, who would have come up with the claw first, the Baron or Fritz von Erich?
well, and that's another, debate. The Von Erichs called theirs the, Iron Claw for a long
Yeah.
time, and the Baron he used to describe his as the Brain Claw when they were building up which claw was the strongest, but, you know, both of them used what we call in the business the Iron Claw, but Fritz Von Erich used it for many, many years, so to my knowledge, I think Fritz was the one that came up with it, And then, but you had Blackjack Mulligan use the claw. You had Blackjack Lanza used it for a while. So it's Dick the Bruiser used to use it as a stomach claw. So
Ah, yes, yeah.
it was universally used by different guys, but one of the best interviews, promos that Baron von Raschke did in St. Louis with on TV, he's describing how the pain from his brain claw squashes all the, and he's got all the medical terms. He's foaming at the mouth, and he's walking into the camera, and it's probably one of the best promos that I've ever seen done.
And let's see, some of the other people we got here. Mickey James, she came out to Australia a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and
Um,
she's kind of questionable right now. She's got a travel problem there, so right now I'm not sure she's going to make it, and that's why
mhm.
I've been known for never false billings, and that there was another organization that was bringing her in, but she's on our poster, so I can't go out and take her off of the posters. It's already been distributed, but
Yeah.
she called me the other night and said it doesn't look like she's going to be able to make it, but I still got my fingers crossed. But as of right now, she's an iffy.
Mm. And you got Demolition as well, so it's sort of funny, you got Powers of Pain and Demolition and Paul Ellering, because Demolition, there's always that, question of whether Demolition were a Road Warriors rip-off as well, because when Vince couldn't get the Road Warriors back in the '80s, Demolition was like his answer.
Right. And Axe and Smash are two more great individuals. I just talked to them yesterday. They just sent me a promo in to advertise, and they're getting inducted into this year into the WWE Hall of Fame. Finally, should have been a
Yeah,
long time
yeah.
ago. So I'm really happy that we're getting them here at FanFest. Like I said, it's long overdue. I was with um, Bill Eady up in Ohio last weekend. He was at that FanFest, and it was great seeing him. Uh, just two guys that are there when I need them, and I'm excited that they're on the card. The fans really love Demolition, and then, like I said, when you have the Power Pains there, they wrestled last week in Ohio. So I tell everybody, you never know what's going to happen at an SICW event. Um,
Yeah.
you may see the Power Pains in action. You may see uh, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson. I got Wildfire Tommy Rich coming in. Those guys are still all wrestling.
Mhm.
So if you haven't got your ticket yet, you better get it now because there's going to be some surprises. I can tell them.
I can imagine. You got Dan Severn as well as Carlito as well.
Yep,
Oh
Dan the
goodness, it's a
Beast.
great lineup. And
Yeah,
then the Koloff family. So when you say Koloff family, that's Nikita, but also his son. Is that right?
yeah. It's the work of the Koloff tour. Nikita Koloff, a good friend. He was in last year, and him and I go up to Waterloo, Iowa, and so he called me and said, "Hey, we got this thing put together." Um, with the quote family doing a tour, and they've got Ricky Morton, one half of the Rock and Roll Express, that's
World
doing some
Express.
travel with them, and his son Kerry. Kerry is out making a name for himself, Kerry Morton. And then, of course,
Mhm.
I got Robert Gibson, the other half of the Rock and Roll Express, coming in. So it's going to be a photo op for if you're a rock and roll fan, or they had some great matches against the Koloffs, and of course, it's
Mhm.
all paying tribute to Ivan. We inducted Ivan into the Hall of Fame in St. Louis last year, and Nikita came in and did the induction for that.
Oh, cool. Uh, with SICW, who's some of the people that you guys have trained that have gone on to big things like either in AEW or TNA or WWE, apart from Randy?
Uh, well, I mean, I've got guys that work for WWE. I got a young man, Night Train Gary Jackson, who's been with me since he was 16 years old, and he's 60 something now, and he still wrestles. I got another guy that goes by the name of Attila Khan, who was trained by
Oh,
Harley
yeah.
Race. Um,
Dennis.
Dennis McCaws, superstar Steve Fender has been to Japan. Was trained by Harley Race. Um,
Mhm,
a lot of them like they done spot shows for the WWF back in the day. Um,
mhm,
None of them have really got the break that they needed. Every one of them could have been a mainstay. And of course, I'm prejudiced to the fact that I get to see him work all the time, and guys like Dennis, and I've got a guy called we call him the Big Texan. He's 6'4", 310 pounds. We call him the sheriff of SICW. But these guys go out there and they know how to work a crowd. They know how to get the program over. And then these guys I was talking about, Strictly Business, Joey Vanetti, Sean Vincent, the Canadian hero, Jason Breed. They got a tag team called the Gateway Saints, real
mhm.
popular. These guys are any of them could have been on the main stage. They should be out there working TNA now or ROH or AEW. But there's only so much talent that an organization can have, and but as far as the guys that Randy, he's the biggest one out there, and I'm fortunate to say that I've watched his career from when it started, when his dad first called me and said, "Hey, we need somebody to help train him. He doesn't think the old man knows much anymore." So at that
Ah,
time, one of my good friends, Ron Powers, who was a, bad guy, traveled with Bruiser Brody all over to Japan, Puerto Rico. In fact,
mhm.
they wanted to bill him as Bruiser Brody's son back in the day, and he wouldn't do
Oh,
it. But
mm,
Ron Powers, Danny Boy, Hawkins, these guys traveled all over up to Windy City, up to Chicago, up to Ohio for Carmi Despaired when he was uh, running the promotion out in Milwaukee. Um, these guys, a lot of them had all the potential in the world to do it, but back then wrestling was such a clique. You had to know somebody to open the door for you, and Larry Matisek, I don't know if you've read any of his books yet. He wrote the book on Bruiser Brody, him and Barbara Goodish. And then he wrote the Wrestling at the Chase book. And he's got about got the top 50 wrestlers in the business. But he comments in the book that guys like Ron Powers and Danny Boy and Dennis Attila, they just weren't at the right place at the right time. They just never got the break they really needed. But I'll put them out there against any of them. I'm telling you, they know how to take care of the business and do the right thing.
mm. Is there anyone that you could foresee, maybe not now, but say in the next 2 to 5 years that will someone to say, "Hey, look out for this kid."
Yeah, I think Brandon Beretta, the guy that goes by the name Strictly Business, trained by Bob Orton's training academy. He's out making a name for himself. He's up at in Ohio. He's down in Kentucky. He just needs somebody from one of those bigger organizations to get an eye on him. Because once he gets his foot in the door, he'll come in and show him what he knows how to do. Joey Vanetti. In fact, I've got them going against Brandon Beretta is my heavyweight champion right now, and
Okay.
him and Joey Vanetti used to be tag team partners called the Top Guns, and they broke up a couple of years ago, and they've had been feuding, and so on April 4th, when we return back to our home base at Belle Claire Fairgrounds in Belleville, Illinois, the title will be on the line, and it will be a if that was the only match you had on a card, it would be with the price of admission, because they go out
Mm,
there and they work the crowd, they work the clock, they wrestle, they brawl, and that's what I like about my locker room is they can do both. If you want to see some good scientific wrestling, these guys can do it. If you want to see them get tough and uh, batter one another, they can do that also.
I imagine you're not sort of having long-winded soliloquies and monologues fill up your show?
No, our on our TV shows, we do the, like I said, the, ringside interviews because, you have to get the talent over. And
Yeah.
even though our TV is we're on a YouTube channel and then we're on a little independent TV show, out of St. Louis called Intrigue Television. It's exposure for the boys, it's exposure for the company. Um,
Mhm.
we're not drawing millions and millions of viewers, but I'm smart enough to know that that doesn't happen. It's not happening on the big stages anymore. But
Yeah.
it's actually helped these guys get recognized from other promotions from around the country. That's why some promoter just up on the East Coast didn't just call these guys and say, "Hey, I want you to come in and work for me because I need somebody." They've watched them on our program, or they've called me and said, "Hey, we need to switch some talent in and out. Who do you recommend?" And it's kind of what they did back in the days of the territory. I've got a handful of my guys that get asked to go to other promotions all the time, and it's
Mhm.
because saw them on the television program, or they've seen them in their area, and that's what it's about, I want them to get out
Yeah.
there. The only thing is I want them to go to the companies that I know that is legit, that's gonna take care of them. Um, I've got a rule that I didn't make up. In fact, my locker room made it up many years ago that, if you work for us, you can't work within a 25-mile, from the county limits, county line. And a lot of other workers didn't understand why. Why is that? Why can't I work for you on a Friday night and go down the road 5 miles and work for, another company, that's 5 blocks, 5 miles away? And, of course, it's really it's a simple answer. I mean, if I got you as my big heel and you're kicking the butt out of everybody and you go to 5 miles down the road and now you're their big baby, you've done nothing but confuse the
Oh,
audience. And
yeah.
and then after you break it down that way to them, it's kinda like, "Oh, well, we didn't realize that." And I didn't come up with that rule. It was actually my locker room that came to me and said, "Hey, look, we got some of our talent that's going down to ABC Wrestling or Joe Blow's, wrestling, and, he's coming out as totally as a different character, and the fans know who he is." So they said, "We gotta
Mm.
want it to be 50 miles." And I said, "No." Back in the day of territories, you wouldn't even think about doing anything like that. Or, you think we were making road trips was rough. They would never, you'd have been blackballed. And, but I
Yes.
said, "No, 25 miles from the county limits, is well, I can work with that." And they could too. So,
Mm.
and again, that was a topic of conversation that, oh, I was trying to control everybody where they worked and who they could work for. No, if I'm investing time in you and I've got you, I'm bringing in the Ricky Steamboats and I'm bringing in the Tito Santanas to sit in the locker room and give you a constructive criticism. You should be paying me for those type of educational moments.
Mm.
But again, I do it to help them better themselves. I'm not going to be here
Mhm.
for. Uh, I'm hoping my
Yeah.
s- I'm hoping my son picks up, and of course he tells me, "Dad, you got big shoes. My feet won't fit in them yet." And but he's learning. And I got awarded the Promoter of the Year award last year out in Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley's 59th reunion. And during my acceptance speech, I brought my son up on stage, and of course, a lot of the legends know him because they've been around him now because he's been in it
Mhm.
ever since he was old enough to be a ring boy. And my other children, they like him, but not as much as Jason does. And I introduced him to the ones that didn't know him, and I said, "Look, what I asked when the gas in my tank runs out, and if he takes over, or whoever takes over this operation, I ask that you give them the same respect you gave me, and also if they do wrong, you kick them in the butt." And
Yeah.
they all like
Uh-huh.
that because you got to have a good rapport with these guys. If you want these legends, as I call them, to come in and help promote your business and your product, you got to treat them right. And I think anybody you talk to, if you mention SICW or my name, and I'm not bragging, I don't do that, but it's just the facts that those 4 letters SICW in the wrestling business is known a pretty far distance.
I can imagine. And now WWE have this new thing called WWE ID where they get together with independent promotions. Are you part of that, or were you approached about that?
No, no, we had um, one person had contacted me that claimed that he was working with them, but I don't put a lot of stock in it. The stock I put in is the people I know in this business that I can call and talk to. Uh,
Mhm.
we just talked about Dennis. He was a guy that I could bounce things off of, Dennis Condrey. But there's so many people that I can pick up the phone and call and ask. But no, it's like the NWA has got a program now where they've got these affiliates out there. One of their people come and watched their show and told us how great it was. And again, there's a lot of BS in this business. Uh, a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
guys, a lot of guys will tell you what they think you want to hear, but
Mhm.
uh, I'm kind of one of the fortunate ones. I've been doing it so long, I can tell who's who in about a 5 minute conversation, how legitimate they are. You know,
Yeah.
when I want to start dropping names on me, that does not impress me, because
Mhm.
there's not a name that they can't drop that I can't if they're still alive, that I can't pick up the phone and call and ask them. And, so they
Yeah.
don't try that too much with me, but no, to answer your question, no, we weren't a part of that. Um, it would be good for some of my guys, like the Brandon Berettas and the Sean Vincents and the Jason Breeds and Bobby D. Bobby D is a local, a young man that's been doing it now for 20 years. He's really into, amateur wrestling. Uh,
Mhm.
Teaches amateur wrestling to the kids, and he can tie you up like a pretzel and make you beg to get out. But guys like that, if they, he just went down to Ripley, Tennessee, to a promotion we work with down there, and won their title. And so we work with whoever wants to work with us. We've extended the olive branch out there to many of them, but they all have their own agenda. It's not about what's best for the business, it's about what's best for them. And so I'm real
Mm.
particular on who we work with. I mean, there's a handful of them. ACW, gentleman that runs that, that we call him the Searcher. Him and I work, a guy in Southern Missouri, New Breed Wrestling, Scotty Z, Jason Jones down at Mid States Championship Wrestling, Bobby Fulton up in Ohio. People like
Mhm.
that, that's got some reputation to them. I want my people to be associated with, because the old saying, guilt by association is true. You go work
Mhm.
for shoddy promotions and you're this guy that's out there trying to make a name for yourself. All it takes is one time to be associated with a shoddy promoter, shoddy promotion. You ruined everything you've been building up to.
Mhm. And so, yeah, the FanFest 4, it's at the Radisson Hotel and Convention Center, which is, if you're out your way or going into Illinois, 319 Fountains Parkway, Fairview Heights. I looked it up on Google in Illinois. And so it's on the 8th and 9th of May. The Friday, that's just like a half. That's what time does that start on the Friday?
It'll start about 6 o'clock that evening. And also, what I forgot to mention, Joe, is that this is the 67th year anniversary that we do the Memories of Wrestling at the Chase program. And so we'll have video.
Yes.
I have the TV library from the Wrestling at the Chase, and then
Oh, wow.
the TV library of Dick the Bruiser. And the Dick the Bruiser's library is still in the big metal containers that they used to transport them back and forth to the TV studios, and they're shipping them in. And so I have all of those that we are slowly downloading. And I don't know if you've ever caught our show on a Sunday night, but we filter in one of those old classic matches from time to time. You'll see our program that we're doing locally, and then I call it the promoter's corner, and then we'll throw in maybe Dick the Bruiser against Ric Flair, or Bruiser
Mm.
against Dory Funk Jr. So you get the old with the new, the demographics, and people like that. So
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm gonna have to check out because I looked at a couple of matches and I looked at a TV taping uh where I think it must have been a recent one. It was basically where you threw to a main event of a six-man elimination match, and
uh-huh.
it was towards the end of it, and there was a bit of a dusty finish on that,
Yep.
and but it was quite good. The wrestling was quite sharp and safe and
Yeah. Well, and
enjoyable, and the crowd were into it.
and that's the thing. In our, in our studio tapings is just like, you don't have a big arena studio. We sometimes we only have 30, 40, 50 people in our TV studio, but they sound like 500 when they get into it.
Mm,
And but you use that TV to sell tickets to your main events at the uh,
mhm,
matches at your house shows. And what we do is we do our TV like normally we would our next show, our house show was April the 4th. Normally, we would tape TV on April the 5th when I have the boys in town, but it's Easter. So I told them, no, you got to go hunt the Easter egg hunt. So we're just gonna for the next 4 weeks of that, we'll just concentrate on promoting FanFest. But normally we would meet April the 5th, and then we would do those tapings. And if you come to the house show, then you get to come to the TV tapings for free because we
oh,
want you
wow.
to be part of the TV studio and see how it all works, how it all comes together. And you'll be surprised. People show up all the time, and they're interested in how it works. You may get to see this guy work 3 weeks in a row on TV, and how it all works. And my commentary play-by-play guy, we call him Dr. Drew Ebenhouse, does a tremendous job. Is a protege of Larry Matusek, and his delivery is great. And I sit in and do. I don't like to
Mm,
do it, but it's always good to have a two-man commentary team where they can bounce things off of one another. But
yeah.
depending on people's schedule, a lot of guys can't be there. So I'll sit in, and then of course I'll bring in my experience and talk about some of the old days of wrestling at the Chase, and then the new guys. It all filters in. It's all put together. My booker does all of that, and it's fun and entertaining. And like I said, we're not trying to compete with the WWE and the AEWs. I wish them all the best in the world. I'm concentrated on SICW because that's my baby.
Yeah, definitely. And do you actually have actual TV or is it just YouTube only?
It's YouTube, and then we have a little TV independent show. It's called Intrigue Television, Intrigue Paranormal Television out of St. Louis, and it's just a little local channel, kind of like a cable channel. But for
Okay.
many years, we were on Charter Cable, and then they wanted to start charging an ungodly amount of money,
Oh, good.
and I wouldn't have mind paying something if they coulda gave me, some numbers, how many households we were going into. All they could tell me is if everybody tuned in at noon on that Sunday, I'd be in this many households, but I didn't wanna know. I wanna know how many people's watching every week, and, cable channels
Mm,
can't tell you that. They don't report to the Nelson ratings. So, I said, "You wanna charge me, an arm and a leg, but you can't tell me what I'm getting for that." So
mm,
I kinda switched from that. YouTube, I'll keep using YouTube until they start trying to do the same thing, because like I said, we get a good following. A lot of people in our immediate area can tune into it. And what's good about the social media platform, if they can't catch it every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, they can catch it anytime during the week. It's there. All they gotta do is
mm.
click onto it. SICW Championship Wrestling. We've got over 600, almost 700 episodes on there now.
Oh, wow. And I think you got quite a few subscribers on that too.
Yeah, and like I said, my IT guy keeps up with all that for me, and as you could tell today, the trouble I had getting connected with you, I'm not that tech savvy, but but I've got a great guy, Brian, that helps me do all that. And if it hadn't been so early this morning, I'd have called him and said, "Get me on this darn program." But we worked it out.
We got there. We got there.
We got there. I'm telling you.
From one continent to another, we got there.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's why when you told me you were in Australia, I was going to call Barbara and let her know, but I've been busy this week. My day job kept me busy. We've had some tornadoes come through our area, and I'm the county EMA 911 coordinator, and so that
All
kept us.
right.
So I only got to text back and forth with Barbara a couple times this week about the fan fest, but I forgot to tell her that we had this scheduled. Because, but I'm
Uh,
sure if you post it, she'll listen to it.
I'll definitely. I'll post it to her because that's how I got it. We're friends on Facebook now, and I send her some of the episodes that I do, and
Yeah.
she sends back a thumbs up emoji.
She's a sweetheart, I'm telling you.
She's
Her
a
and,
nice lady.
her good friend Darla Staggs, Darla and I go way, way back. She was from the area here, and then she moved to Minnesota, and then she retired. Now she's down there with Barbara in Florida, and, I tell you what, they're the dynamic duo, I can tell you.
Oh, this has been great. Well, I'll let you get on with your day. Thank you very, very much for your time. And as I say, good luck, folks. If you get to the Illinois area in May 8, May 9, I've noticed it on the website. There's even packages if you want to stay over at the Radisson. They've got some packages just for Herb's people. Check it out, and also check out SICW on YouTube. That's Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling. I don't know if I've already subscribed, but if I haven't, I'm going to subscribe within the next 24 hours and catch up with some of the stuff. It is all good wrestling the way it's meant to be, not with these 30-minute monologues. It's proper wrestling because we're wrestling fans and we want to be part of something good and watch wrestling. If we want to watch people act, turn on the soap operas.
There you go. Couldn't have said it any better. I appreciate it, and thanks for all you do, helping keep the old tradition alive.
Thank you, sir. All the very best to you.
Very good. Thank you.
If you see Kayfabe, join your